there's so many people over the years, and I think this is one of the interesting things when I read a book and they go, it's that person or that, and they can pick, and I'm amazed because there's an army of people out there who have, in their own way, knowingly or unknowingly, impacted my thinking, my way of working, how I turn up. I really like, if you get to read it, Arnie's new book, Being Useful. The end of it, that bit that you always skip, that he says thank you to people. Well, he really lists them out, all of the people in producing the book. Because in the book he talks about being a self-made man, and he rejects the notion because you're not. And I think for me that resonated, possibly far more than it was intended to, but it really resonated with me because picking one person is really hard. Occasionally there are people like Gene Baker who have been transformational in my journey, but there have been so many people over the years. One person who I always remember with a smile is a chap called Frank. He was somebody I was coaching, and it was when I was getting into professional coaching, as I call it. So, as well as the agile coaching, extending out into being present, asking questions, active listening, being a coach, not just an agile coach. And it was working with him for about 18 months. Every week or two, we would sit down and we'd have a chat. And as part of the engagement, I'd also help them get started with the early steps of coaching because I was a little bit in the learn it and teach it kind of phase of my career. So I was 10 pages ahead of them very often. So I taught him coaching at a basic level and practiced with him, but I was also in coaching conversations with Frank. And I always remember there was this little room on the end of a row that was big enough for two seats and a table in between, and really wasn't much else other than being able to scoot around the table. So I was already in the room on one side, and Frank came in for a regular sort of 90-minute coaching session, which is really long, but you live and learn. And he came in, and I was like, morning, morning, pleasantries out of the way. And I asked a question, what's on your mind? I can't remember what it was, but it prompted him to get started. Okay? And he started exploring the space. And what I found fascinating at the time, the reason I look back on it so fondly, is he would then pause, look at me and go, you're going to ask me this. And he would ask a question I didn't have in my mind at all. I'm like, okay. And he'd go off again. And for the best part of an hour and a half, he would talk through a topic and then tell me the question I would ask him, which was not the question I was thinking, and then carry on answering the question he just claimed I would have asked. And he did that, okay, and he coached himself all the way to having a better understanding, and he did have something to take away with it. And at the end of it, as we sort of said bye, because he was a friend as well, um, he said, thanks, I don't know how you do it. That is one of the best coaching sessions. And he left happy as anything. And I love that, A, because it's a brilliant story about, sometimes a coach, you are just the thing that somebody needs to talk to open their mind, to clear their thinking. Just verbalizing helps them. But it really got me thinking, actually, by working with that one person, he's taken that thinking away, he's taken that approach away and the mindset underpinning it. And we had some brilliant conversations after that and before that throughout the engagement. But how he turned up radically shifted over the engagement from being a technical architect, highly proficient, okay, architect, to being a real leader, to being somebody who asked questions. He probed for understanding. He really brought people on the journey with him rather than just telling them what to do. They chose what to do within the frameworks he'd created, really enabling his teams to do brilliant stuff. And it's one of the first times in my career as a Scrum Master, as an Agile coach, as whatever you want to call it, I had that realization. I was a significant part of that. I played my part in him shifting his stance at work, in him being a different person professionally. And for me, that was a very powerful realization when you just suddenly, that's what I do. Yeah, I teach Scrum. Yeah, I teach about user stories, and I get people doing all these fun things, playing the ballpoint game, playing with Lego, and yeah, that's why. Is this organization is significantly better because of the impact I've had on that person. And in the engagement, we talked about cogs. How do you get a big cog to turn? You turn lots of little cogs to slowly get it moving. Right? Frank may have only been a little cog in the organization. He wasn't as small a cog as he may have thought of himself. Right? But if I, as a Scrum Master, I, as an Agile coach, am having 10, 12 of those conversations every week, over time, we can really have profound impacts on what we do, on the organizations we work with. Because if people's thinking is shifting to one of curiosity, of inquisition, of inquiry, should I say, not inquisition, that's a whole different thing. As an organization, you're much stronger. They're more willing to try things out. They're more open to changing their minds. And they were, as an organization, much more effective and much fitter for the 21st century as I look at it today.